All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. There's talks about a possible contract extension for Dallas Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott, but not from the necessary parties on the matter. There have not been any formal negotiations between Prescott's representatives and the Dallas Cowboys as a Pro Bowl quarterback is set to enter the final year of his deal. Now, after playing on the franchise tag in 2020, Dak and the Cowboys agreed on a 4-year deal for $160 million, with $95 million of that being guaranteed. Now, one would imagine that Prescott will be seeking an even larger payday the next time around from the Cowboys, but will the quarterback get it? Now, like it or not, but Dak is not, okay, in my opinion, going to be the quarterback who leads the Cowboys to their first Super Bowl win title in nearly 3 decades. Now, you look at Dak's time, as a Cowboy starting quarterback, and over the last 8 years, he is 73 and 41 during the regular season, a completion percentage of 67%. He's thrown 202 touchdowns to 74 interceptions. But in the playoffs. And this is where quarterbacks, are judged the most, fairly or unfairly. Dak is 2-5 as a starter. And of course, those interceptions and those turnovers have been a bugaboo of his. Just look at this past January in the wild card round when Dallas fell at home to the Green Bay Packers. So at the end of the day, Dak is one of those guys that you really have to read between the lines on his stats because sometimes even in that playoff loss, against the Packers this past January, Dak got a lot of his yards and a lot of his touchdowns in garbage time. He was still out there, playing against prevent defenses, and at the end of the day, Dak is one of those guys. He tears it up, against the bad teams, and then he does a complete opposite against the good teams. It's basically like going from rookie level in Madden to going to all Madden. And of course, there's a lot of differences in that. So it's one of those where you look at it and the question is going to be would the Dallas Cowboys want to commit to Dak Prescott long term with a heavy price tag attached to him? The Dallas Cowboys have some very tough decisions to make coming up. I mean, right now, uh, they're only about $6 million over the under the cap. So, we've seen the Dallas Cowboys be very dormant this offseason. And of course, people say, well, why didn't they go out there and make a push to the likes of Derrick Henry or this one or that one? Because these guys could have come in here and helped. But the bottom line is Dallas just doesn't have the cap flexibility. Now, I know last month Dak did convert a $5 million roster bonus into a signing bonus. It added 2 additional void years to his deal, but in the process, it cleared $6 million worth of cap space for Dallas. Dallas is probably going to have to try to make some more moves in order to be able to sign the young men that they're about to draft next weekend at the NFL draft. But nonetheless, this team has some questions, has some tough decisions to make. CD Lamb's contract is coming up. The same thing can be said for Micah Parsons and all of these guys that I just mentioned. They want to be paid and compensated among the top guys at their respective positions in the NFL. So the bottom line is this: sooner rather than later, this Dallas Cowboys team is going to look a lot different. And with that said, do they want to go forward with Dak Prescott? At the end of the day, in my opinion, the Dallas Cowboys are no closer to being a championship team with Dak Prescott as their starting quarterback than when they first drafted him in the middle rounds of the 2016 draft. At the end of the day, and I hate to say this, but we've run out of ways to try to win in January with Dak Prescott. We gave you Ezekiel Elliott, the prime years of Ezekiel Elliott at running back with a quality defense. You couldn't get it done. You went out there with a defense that, specialized in forcing turnovers, couldn't get it done. Brought in the likes of CeeDee Lamb, gave Dak, a quality offensive line in front of him. And, Dak still can't get it done. But the bottom line is this: it's one of those where you go back to 2021, and it basically came at the 11th hour. In my opinion, I feel like Jerry Jones had to be convinced, okay, to sign Dak Prescott. And it because it's one of those where you think back to the days of Troy Aikman, you think back to the days of Tony Romo. It never got to that point. Okay, Jerry Jones took care of his quarterback. So I think it's one of those where I don't think that Jerry completely believes in Dak, in my opinion, but at the time he was the best option available for the Dallas Cowboys. At the end of the day, I don't think Dak Prescott is going anywhere. I think he's going to stay with the Dallas Cowboys. And the reason is this: as much as Jerry Jones wants to come out and say that the Dallas Cowboys are all in, they're committed to winning and all of that good stuff, the bottom line is Jerry Jones has been content with the Cowboys being mediocre for nearly 3 decades now. Why? Because, Jerry Jones talks about the star on the side of the Dallas Cowboys helmet, but Jerry Jones wants to be the biggest star for the Dallas Cowboys, and he continues to be. And at the end of the day, if your team owner is the rock star of your organization, that ain't good. The Cowboys are one of, if not the most valuable franchises in professional sports, clearly the most valuable franchise in the National Football League. And at the end of the day, Jerry is laughing all the way to the bank. He doesn't want to win. And the Dallas Cowboys will continue to do just enough to make people think they have a chance. They're going to continue to do just enough to have the media talk about them in the fashion to say, you know what, maybe this is a Cowboys year because people, quote unquote, want to see the Cowboys go out there and win just because they're the Dallas Cowboys. Or basically, when the Dallas Cowboys are relevant, it gives people something to talk about. Now, I know the Cowboys have gone 12-5 in each of the last 3 years with Dak as their quarterback primarily, and of course Mike McCarthy as their head coach. But at the end of the day, if Dallas is truly serious about winning, they cannot do it with Dak. He's just not that guy. But at the end of the day, you're probably going to see Dak go out there and get a deal where he's making $40 to $50 million a year. And, because I don't see the Dallas Cowboys simply starting over at the position. But the bottom line is you go ahead and give Dak that money, it's going to hamstring your finances to do other things. You're talking about a guy right now in Dak that is going to count for more than 21% of the Cowboys salary all by himself for the upcoming season. So at the end of the day, when it comes to Dak, when it comes to the Cowboys, and when it comes to Jerry Jones, it's a marriage made in heaven because you have a mediocre team, in my opinion, when it comes to the postseason, uh, with a owner that is starstruck on himself, and of course, he has a quarterback who simply can't get it done. So you can say whatever you want. Dak's going to get his money. He ain't leaving Dallas. They ain't going nowhere. And honestly, with him under center on the field, they ain't going nowhere in January either. So, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank all of you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on the X, formerly known as Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it will be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365 that you can check it out. Drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So, once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin, and I am signing off. And I'm saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.